Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grace Chats. We're glad that you're joining us here again. I wanted to just share that Grace Chats is just meant to be a safe place where we can speak grace, turn to God's word and hear grace, and hear from others. One of the wonderful ways that the body of Christ learns to listen to grace and hear things that build us up and encourage us and strengthen us is to hear the testimonies and the stories of other faithful people who are living in the midst of life and who are following Jesus Christ. And so we're glad that you're joining us here today. Grace Chats, the verse I wanted to share today about why Grace Chats exists is from Proverbs 16, verse 24. It says, "Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones." So we really do hope that with each one of these episodes, you are able to hear something that is healing to you, that is sweet, that will encourage you. And so we thank you for joining us today. Today we have a special guest, and Gentry Vass. She's going to go ahead and introduce herself to us for now.
Yeah, hi, my name is Gentry Vass, and I am a member of Southridge Church. I've been attending the campus in Bridgeport for the last year, but my family and I have attended in Fairmont for I think 10 years before that. So we've been around for a while. My husband is Jason, and we have 4 children. Sadie is 12, Brooks is 10, Millie is 8, and Kent is 4.
Well, thank you. We're glad that you're here. We're going to be talking about well-being spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And so one of the verses that was like a family verse growing up in my house was this. And it's something that I've tried to encourage within our own family here. Proverbs 17:22 says, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength." And really that the importance of delight and joy and cheerfulness. It's not something we can manufacture, but it is something that we can practice and something that we can pursue. And I really felt that as we talk about Gentry's specific passions and her journey in life, I really thought she has chosen to lean into joy, and she has found, I think, some unique pathways towards healing and towards just having a cheerful disposition. So Gentry, I'm going to just begin with, and I know that the listener may need a little more background information, but you are a ministry leader at Southridge Church, and you lead a ministry called Refit. So I just wonder, what led you to getting involved in Refit? And can you explain a little bit about what Refit is?
Sure thing. Well, I'll tell you what, my start with Refit was a long time ago. About 7 years ago, I had to really do the math to figure that out. My sister started taking Refit classes in Huntington. I had never heard of it before, had no point of reference, but she loved it. And she went on and on about how I should try it. Well, a couple years after that, she became an instructor, and she started teaching classes. So when I was in town, I would take her classes, but really I just heard her talking about it all the time. And I really did enjoy it. I liked the classes. They were fun. It's a dance fitness format, but really it's more all encompassing. It's not just the physical fitness component. It's different than other formats because it does, include an emotional, spiritual component. So anyway, I tried it. I really did enjoy it, but I didn't know of anybody doing it up in this area. So when I'd go in town, if I was there, I'd take a class, and that was really the extent of it. Well, about, a little over 2 years ago, my sister was hounding me, you need to become an instructor and give it a shot up there. I'm sure people would love it, blah, blah, blah. So I did. I went to the certification, and I took the classes or whatever. I became certified. But I tell you what, I was fearful. I was afraid to try. I was afraid to even ask. I was afraid to talk to the pastors about it. I talked to one person, and I just kind of like tippy-toed, like, "I was certified. Do you think?" And they were just like, "Oh, I don't know if they'll go for it." And that's all it took for me to shut down. I was afraid. I was fearful. I didn't mention it. I didn't tell anybody. And then life happened, and we had some things go on. My father was sick, and he passed away, and we had some other personal things going on. And so it kind of was pushed to the back burner. Well, then I spent some time in Huntington, some significant time, and I went to refit classes. I went to 3 or 4 a week, to be honest, because it really just, it fed my spirit. I felt it really helped me mentally, physically, of course, but emotionally, spiritually, to have like a community of people, to have people that were encouraging and lovely and kind and just supportive. But also the music is uplifting, and it was like an act of worship. And I fell in love with it again, you know? And so anyway, when we came back to Bridgeport, it was in my mind. I thought I was really missing it. I was missing my time spent in that way. And we tried out the Bridgeport campus. I'm embarrassed to say we hadn't even been inside the building, but we went the first day, and it was like the Lord just like slapped me in the face with this vision. I thought, this building is perfect for refit. Like it just, I felt like the lighting, the stage, the chairs could move. I mean, he gave me the full vision. And so I started praying about it, started praying for my fears and anxieties. And anyway, I got certified and talked to, of course, Dean and Megan, and they were all just so supportive and wonderful, and made me just really feel silly for living in that fear, you know. But anyway, that's kind of how it all came to be. I hope I answered your question.
Of course. So, I mean, you're talking that it is an opportunity for the spiritual component, for the physical component, and for the emotional supportive component. If you could choose one of those, which one is the key for you, and which do you try to keep that environment for the people who come?
That's a really good question. Yeah, gosh, one is tricky. I mean, the physical is obvious. You know, it is a fitness platform. Okay, so you do get a good
can
sweat.
You tell us, then I know a little bit of your story, but I want our listeners to, what was your physical journey? Why do you think this helped you physically? Because what was your background? What kind of interrupted your movement, and how did you move forward? Because I don't want people to miss this. This is good.
It is good. Okay, so I was always somewhat fit, somewhat active, not a true, you know, big athlete or anything, but I was always doing something. And after I would tell you that I had a bad back. I would say I had a bad back. I'd have pain in my back, or I'd have restriction in my movement, but I was just kind of got through it. I mean, I had it for a long time. Well, after I had my 4th child, I was trying to exercise again, and it became painfully clear that something was wrong. I couldn't bend. I would ask my husband, like, is this normal? I feel like this isn't normal. And I talked to some of my girlfriends in small group actually, and they're like, yeah, that's not normal. I couldn't bend. I couldn't touch past my knee. My motion was restricted. Then it started getting pain down my legs. I couldn't even sit in the car to drive without the pain shooting down my legs. So I had been to physical therapy. I had been to a chiropractor. I'd been to just MedExpress saying, please give me a shot of something. I was in a lot of pain. And finally, they kept saying it's a slip disc. Finally, when I couldn't really bend, some of my friends were like, you need to get an MRI. So I kind of pushed for that and found I had a significant tumor in my back, in my spinal cord. My spinal cord was growing through it. So it was about the size of my finger. Actually, when they showed me the MRI, I went, because it was pretty big. Basically, it was a pretty rare tumor. It was a benign tumor, but it acted as a malignancy, meaning if they could get it all, it had a tendency to come back if you didn't get further treatment. So basically, let's see, in October of 2016, so my son was 6 months old, I had to go to the hospital, have the tumor removed. I'll spare you the details. It's really gross what they had to do to me. But they basically had to take me apart and put me back together. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I healed very quickly. As far as being functional, I could get back to basically normal life, not exercising just yet, but basic. And then I had to go to get radiation for, it's about 5.5 weeks, 28 treatments, I think. And in my back just to ensure that the cancer, the tumor wouldn't come back. It really reduced my risk of it recurring. So in that time, of course, I wasn't able really to exercise too much. That really wasn't the forefront of my mind. I was just trying to get through to these next steps and take care of all these babies. So anyway, there was definitely a time that I thought, am I going to be able to do anything? There's a significant risk of paralysis, that I wouldn't be able to move at all, or I would lose feeling in the lower half of my body. I mean, those risks were significant and they were there. So the fact that sometimes it's overwhelming, and it hit me that I am so blessed that to be on this side of it and to be able to move and lead a fitness ministry. It's amazing to me that's my story, but I am so thankful that it's my story. And I feel like I hope it's inspirational to other people that, and the Lord has different plans for us all, but I am so thankful for the path he gave me, and that maybe I'll be able to help someone else or encourage someone else, because I've been there. I've been in a position where I can barely move. So.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you answered that question that I threw at you, because I think you do have, I remember praying you through that time when you were away from home. You received your radiation away from home for a significant period of time, and just remember surrounding you in prayer and looking to that, and just the faithfulness. And so I think it is a testimony that's saying, when you started Refit, I imagine you weren't there where you are now. So you had to give yourself grace to experience movement. So talk about how that is, how does that help you remember where you started and be mindful of that for other women who are coming into the ministry for the first time? Because there's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of self-consciousness. But what is your philosophy on saying, hey, wherever you are, whatever is going on, you're welcome here. We want you here. So how do you put that in your own words?
That's a really great question. And it's actually my favorite part of Refit. So I'm thankful that you asked it in that way, because Refit is super approachable regardless of your fitness level, your age, your ability, your experience. It really is approachable for you no matter what, because you can get in it what you put into it. So if you aren't capable of jumping, that's fine. You don't have to jump. If you have limited motion or mobility in certain areas, it's fine. It honestly can be adapted to whatever you can do. So another thing is the approachability. So I know a lot of women, like you mentioned, are intimidated, or they're fearful, or they sense the competition or the comparison. We really try to nip that, because we turn the lights down. We keep it pretty dark in there. You experienced it, Megan. I remember you saying, oh, it is kind of dark in here. But I couldn't tell you how many women came to me and said, I'm so glad that you do that. It's not, a lot of people don't feel comfortable in a fitness class. Mm-hmm. And maybe they don't feel like they're great dancers, or I'm not a great dancer, to be honest. I mean, I'm willing. I'm not the best dancer. I certainly don't claim to be. But it's not intimidating. We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing it in our own way, but you can't see anybody else, and you don't care. You're just there to get better. You're there to get better, to improve, to feel better when you're done, So it really is an approachable format. And I tell you what, just from my experience, and we only got to just get started before the COVID-19 thing hit. We really only had a little over a month that we were kind of getting the ball rolling, getting started. But I can't tell you how many women came to me, well, first of all, telling me that they loved it, or that they couldn't believe how they had improved already, or how they couldn't believe how the dim lights and how it's set up was so comforting to them. They had never really felt that way in a fitness class before, just because the intimidation is not there. It really is not there. So that's actually one of my favorite parts of Refit, that it's so approachable. My mom takes my classes with me. I won't tell you, she wouldn't want me to tell you how old she is, but my mother takes them with me. My children take them with me. So like the whole gamut. they're all welcome, and you can gain benefit of it. It's not just for one specific kind of person.
Yeah, I think I did go and experience it. And I'm a child, like my fitness, I've never been athletic. I'm a musician. I mean, I've just never been athletic. But my only athletic part is that I am a child of the late 90s and early 2000s. So I was the video workout queen. So, I can Tae-Bo it up. That was my physical fitness. But I think that when it comes to physical movement, that we do need to understand that our bodies are a temple and we are to steward them well, no matter our size. And I think many, in fact, most women I know have body hangups. Like, I just don't think any of us go unscathed in this world without some level of hang up in that area. But I think if we can step in that door and lean into the discomfort and awkwardness, I mean, I'm not going to know. I had to adapt because I'm like, I forget. You're learning the movements. But I do think you can speak to this. You do try to keep some of the routines similar so that you can feel like you're learning rather than changing things all the time. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It's super repetitive. Each song that we do in itself repeats several times. Your choruses are all going to be the same. The verses are all going to be the same. So even if you don't have like a dancing background, you're going to pick it up. And from class to class, I only change a few songs from one list to the next. So even if you come to one class and then you come to the next, even if I change a few of them up, most of them you're going to have some experience in and you're going to get better. And there's strategy behind that, because once you feel more comfortable, once you know the routines a little bit more, you can dance harder. I tell you what, I sweat more now than I ever did when I first started taking it, because I can do it better. And so I even had one of the girls in class say, "You jump around a lot more now than you used to." I'm like, well, I guess I'm getting used to it and I'm learning it better. And that's kind of the same for anybody who takes it.
Yeah, and I think that you just want to create a safe environment that makes it as easy as possible. If you step into that building, the Holy Spirit's going to meet you there, and you're going to be able to just continue to move and learn and grow. And so what are some of the spiritual, what do you include to deal with the spiritual aspects of life?
That I love that question. And honestly, I think I said it earlier, but it really is what separates Refit from other fitness platforms. The music that we choose, first of all, has been filtered to be all positive, uplifting, encouraging type music. It's not 100% Christian music. It's not everything that you'd only hear on K-Love, but it is very specifically uplifting. Okay, so it's not going to be anything that makes you feel bogged down and cruddy afterwards. Everything lifts you up. That's first of all. And there are quite a few Christian songs in there. So at times it does feel like worship. It feels like you are moving your body. You're soaking in the words. You're soaking in, you're really given a space to be reflective and be prayerful and think. Where I don't know about you, Megan. Sometimes I have a hard time finding space in my life to just be still and think, and that kind of it lends itself to that. The other thing is, at the end of class, we carve out 5 to 10 minutes to do what we call heart work. So you have the physical fitness thing, and then you work on your heart for the last 5 to 10 minutes. And that looks different depending on the class and the size and the people. But basically, that's where the community aspect comes in. Okay, so we're talking and encouraging each other in community. Maybe I'll bring in a verse that I read that week that really stuck out to me, or I felt that the Lord was encouraging me to share, or maybe somebody else had heard something or read something in a book or whatever. But we spend the last 5 to 10 minutes in that regard. Okay, and I really feel like that's a difference than most other classes, that certainly the ones I've been to. I haven't experienced that. But I really appreciate that. It gives you a minute to kind of get to know the people who are coming to class. It helps to build that community feel. We can encourage each other. We pray with each other at the end. Like I said, we only just got started when the COVID-19 thing happened in our class. And of course, I've experienced in others. But, it's kind of the last thing you think, the last thing that you do before you leave, before you go back out into the world. It's almost like filling your cup so that you can pour into others is the hope and the thought and the intent behind it.
Well, and I think anytime you carve out space for that spiritual community, you recognize you're not alone. You're not
Yeah,
the only one. And I think sometimes whether you're moving your body physically or you're finding that spiritual thing, which both matter, they both matter to God. I
yep,
just think that understanding that we're not alone, you're not the only one who's going through this, who's struggling. I think there's just a reality, and it's about real life and real relationships
yeah,
and purpose at that point
yeah,
in time. So it definitely
yeah.
aligns with just the vision. So as we wrap things up, is there any final words of encouragement or things that you'd like to share that maybe we haven't hit upon yet?
The only other thing I guess that I wanted to make sure that we mentioned, you had asked me before about like a passion for our group at Bridgeport. And what I think is really cool about it is that, Bridgeport's still a relatively new establishment, and the women's ministry is new, and we're, still trying to figure things out. So I'm super excited to be involved in the offering of women's ministry. But I love that Refit can kind of help bridge the bridge between the two campuses. We have lots of women from Fairmont who come, but also that it can be a bridge out into the community. It really can be an outreach kind of thing. We have lots of women who don't attend Southridge. We have women who don't attend church regularly who come, and maybe it makes it walking into a church a little more approachable if it's something that like a exercise class. So to me, I think that's really cool. And I know it's not the only thing that we offer in that regard, but I think it's a really cool thing for women specifically. And I'm really happy to be a part of it for so many reasons. But I think the outreach and the kind of making connections between the two churches or the two buildings makes me happy. So.
Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job. And how can people find out more information as this continues to go on? Because I know you're getting ready to go back into the building, but also still.
Yeah.
So, like, just a very basic. We don't have to have all the details because this might be watched months from now when things are different. But like,
Okay.
what is the immediate way that people can connect with you?
Sure. We so I have a Refit page on Facebook. I post often in like the women's ministry pages, so you probably will be able to find me that way. But I think it's just Refit with Gentry. I think that's what it's called. But it's on Facebook, and that's where I kind of keep in touch as far as the schedule and if there's if we have any changes or things like that. Right now, we're doing classes Monday evenings at 6, Friday mornings at 9:30. And this coming, like you said, who knows when you'll see this, but this coming Friday will be our first class back in the building, but we're still going to offer it over Zoom while we can. Refit didn't allow for Zoom things before all this COVID-19. They've let us do it because of our world situation. So I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to offer it this way, but I'm happy to do it while I can. So starting Friday, we'll be doing the classes at those times: Friday morning, 9:30, Monday evening at 6 p.m. And you can either come in person or over Zoom. They'll be available both ways. If Zoom is your thing or the way you want to give it a shot, the links will be posted on the Facebook page.
All right. Well, thank you. And in conclusion, we just want all the listeners and watchers to understand that we're inviting you to consider what healing movement might be part of your spiritual, emotional, and health journey. We really believe that this is just an opportunity for you to engage and connect. And so we're glad that you've joined us here for our Grace Chats, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.